It's hard to be critical of what Jeff Hafley's done so far in the transfer portal. He's hit a whole bunch of home runs and added to what Boston College needs. But where has he missed? There's a big one, and we're going to talk about it on today's show.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. How are you doing out there, Eagles fans? This is Locked On BC, your team every day. And we are talking transfer portal today. Well, partially transfer portal. Partially, we're going to look about early enrollees. And we're going to put a little icing on the cake by talking about Chas Kelley and his rise to being an important player on the BC basketball team. We're looking at all of that on today's show. Now, you look at the transfer portal. What has Jeff Hafley done? He's landed 10 commitments. They have not signed yet officially. They have not entered on campus. They're going to do that next week. 6 days. Cross your fingers that they all make it on campus. We saw what happened with Bijel Tootin, a running back who is now a star for Virginia Tech. He was 1 day away from being a BC Eagle and didn't make it. Jeff Hafley has landed a pair of wide receivers, a pair of running backs, a tight end, 3 guys for his secondary, and help on the defensive line with the additional Jase Medical yesterday. One position that I am still concerned about is offensive guard. He has tackles for next year. You have Logan Taylor and Ozzie Trapilo returning. That should be okay. But you're losing Kyle Hergel. You're losing Christian Mahogany to the NFL draft. And what you have to replace them is a mix of guys from a couple years ago that are still giving me PTSD and unproven players. And what I mean by that, Jude Bowery could be a very good guard. We haven't seen him play, though. Don't know. He got hurt last year, didn't play a whole lot. He could be in the mix to play that guard role. Jack Conley was great in the 6th offensive lineman role, but do we want him back as a regular starter? Not sure that might be the answer. And then you have guys like Dwayne Alec, and I don't even know if Jackson Ness is back yet, or, Otto Hess, who hasn't played. So there's a lot of question marks, and you have to fill 2 of those positions. So you best believe that Jeff Hafley has been very active in the transfer portal, making offers to offensive linemen, especially at the guard position. Now, we have not seen any of them commit yet, though. And what is worrisome is that a lot of the names that you've seen BC offer have committed elsewhere. There must be 6 to 10 names that I could go off and rattle off that BC showed interest in that have already picked other schools. So that's a worry. You want to be able, they're thinking they need it. They need to go out there and get an offensive lineman. They haven't been able to do that yet. Yesterday, there was an interesting new offer that went out, and this was to Ja'Kiah Leftwich of Georgia Tech. Ja'Kiah Leftwich, funny enough, was teammates with Jase Medical at Westlake High School in Georgia. Jase Medical is the guy that just committed to BC, so he has a connection with the staff. And on top of that, not only does he have a connection with McConnell, he was very interested in BC his first go-around. And he didn't end up, I don't think BC even offered him, but he ended up at Georgia Tech. Now, he entered the transfer portal, and he would fill a need. He played tackle and guard at Georgia Tech, so he has some versatility. But you would ask him to play guard, which honestly might be a better fit for him because as we saw, if you look at his Pro Football Focus grades, his tackle scores weren't great. He performed better as a guard. He's bigger. But because Boston, as I was talking to Mitch about this, he's 6'6", which is big for a guard. Most of your guards like 6'2", 6'3". And when you have a smaller quarterback like Thomas Castellanos, is that an issue if you get a bigger offensive lineman that could block his view? Now, it could be if you're playing out of, behind center, snapping out of center. But because BC goes to shotgun so much, Mitch was telling me, no, it doesn't really matter because that kind of negates the size difference. So he could do that. And he was going to probably still be either a starter or battling for a starting position for Georgia Tech. I think he's looking for bigger playing time, something Boston College could offer him. He had interest in Boston College. He knows people on the staff. He's from an area BC is very familiar with. I'm guessing he probably knows Thomas Castellanos a little bit too. Now, this is not just me talking. This is not me just rattling off a name here on the podcast. You guys know if I know something, I'm going to tell you as much as I can. And I reported this earlier on the site, so this is not new to our VIP subscribers who knew about this earlier. But I talked to Leftwich today. I asked him. I said, I know he's got offers from Troy, UNC. There's a few other schools that offered him, nothing huge. I said, are you going to visit BC? And he says, I haven't set a date yet, but I'm trying and I want to get there soon. So clearly this is not just a one-way interest. Sometimes you get, obviously when you're in the transfer portal, you're going to get an offer and you're like, that's cool. I'm going to post it, but I honestly don't care. Some of those, you'll see it with BC guys, right? Like the 5 stars that BC offers. They're like, hey, got an offer from BC. But if you ask them about it, like they're not really all that interested in it. Leftwich is interested. So this could be a name to watch. This could be a name to see if maybe this is a fill in need for BC at that guard position, something that they, as I said, they desperately need. He's got experience, and he kind of fits that role, that transfer portal role that I feel like Hafley's kind of hitting right now, which is he's bringing in guys that either have experience or have kind of shed that early growing pains that you get when you get to college. Like he's already done his first couple years, kind of like what Logan Taylor did last year. You've got guys that have come in, and even Kai Robichaux, like played a little bit and then they up their role here at Boston College. And I think that's going to work. So he fits that to a T. And so I look at a player like this and I think, okay, this is someone who really fits what Boston College is doing. Maybe, you can't, I would say if I'm Hafley, I'm not going to offer him the starting role. He's never going to do that to anyone. I think Hafley's pitch to every transfer is you get to battle for it, knowing that they're going to have a very good chance of getting it. So I think that's what we're going to talk about with Leftwich here. Now, in a moment, folks have been asking, I have the answers for you. Who's going to be the early enrollees? BC starts spring practice soon. Players report to campus next week. Which true freshmen are going to be there? I'll tell you who's going to be there, who you can expect, and who's going to be waiting for the summer. You're going to want to hear all that in just a moment. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices viewed from your seats, and their best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. With the Celtics and Bruins in full swing, if you're looking for tickets to those games, the Celtics, they're pushing for that banner, you should head over to Gametime. You'll see where you're going to sit. You'll get a good view of what you're going to be able to see. And the best part about Gametime is their all-in prices is what you're paying. You're not going to get any random fees or, paying twice as much when you actually change the screen. I bought my tickets on Gametime and there was no surprises. And I loved that about them. So check them out because they also have last minute deals. Ticket prices could drop and you can get a great deal there on Gametime. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKED for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. This is Locked On BC. I'm your host, AJ Black. Hope you're all having a great evening. And if you have not done so already, make sure to subscribe to our Locked On YouTube channel. We have podcasts that go out here daily. I also do quick notes if something happens. Hasn't happened in a while, but if I can't get to a full episode, I'll put out quick things on there. So find Locked On BC wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Now, as I said, on the 16th is the official start date of semester 2 for Boston College. So students are going to be heading back to campus this weekend. Always my favorite time when I was there is like those couple days before classes start. You can hang out with your friends, not have to worry about schoolwork. It was always a fun time, right? Well, the players will be there too, and you're going to probably see most of the transfers hopefully sign on as they're going to get ready for spring practice. But the bigger question then remains, which true freshmen are for the class of 2024 are going to be those early enrollees? Now, this is an interesting discussion because I'm going to tell you who's coming, and it's going to be underwhelming. I'm going to warn you right away. But I'll explain why it makes sense in this segment as well. So last year, you saw a bunch of different players come in early. You saw KP Price, Carter Davis, Sean Battle, who never even made it to the summer. There was a bunch of players that came in early. This year, the only players, and I confirmed it with every kid. So this is you could take it to the back. I'm the only one that has this, I think, right now. The only players that are coming early are Jaden LaFontaine, a offensive lineman the one that flipped from Kentucky, and Pape Asai, the kid from Senegal. Now, it's interesting because you look at both of them, and some people are like, well, are they coming in early because they need so much help on the offensive line? I believe me, I don't think Pape Asai is going to be playing for BC for a while, unless he is a phenom that is picking up football so quickly that they're going to have to get him out there. Remember, he just picked up football like 4 months ago. I mean, if I was a betting man, I would say Pape Sai won't be, if he plays and starts for BC, it won't be till like 2027. I mean, he's going to get into college shape. He's going to understand the speed of college football and all that good stuff. So, I mean, why he's coming this early, I'm not even sure. I'm going to get more into why the other guys aren't coming. But he's going to be here early. And the other, LaFontaine, I'm sure part of the reason they were able to flip him was because they promised he could come in early. So those are the two. That's it. Now, you have 10 other guys, whether it's Jonathan Montague, the quarterback, Turbo Richard, the running back. You have those Ashton McShane, the defensive back. All these guys are coming in the summer. And why does this matter? And I think it has to get back to Jeff Hafley's change in philosophy and how he wants to build up his roster. Just a couple of years ago, he was so gung-ho about how proud he was that his true freshmen were able to get out there and play early. You thought, you badge of honor. And then as the years have gone on, if you listen to what he said, that kind of enthusiasm about having to play his freshmen or, getting them that experience has kind of waned. It's almost become more of we don't want to have to do this because our freshmen need the time to develop. So I think he wants more developed guys. That's why I was talking about that on the transfer portal talk the last couple of days. He wants to get guys in here that, when I was talking about Sid McConnell, that played a little bit so that they're not just fresh out of the oven, true freshman players that are learning and making mistakes out there. It makes much more sense to let them redshirt, let them take their time, make sure you're not rushing them out there because, as we've said on this podcast, Hafley's he's still on the hot seat. He needs to win. He can't wait to he can't rush guys in that are going to make mistakes and lose him football games. These freshmen are, if you had a blue chipper, and, maybe there will be a guy on this group that I'm not even aware of that once they get on campus, they're going to be a special talent. And I'm not sure who that could be, but maybe one guy will. That's okay. But BC doesn't have, when you look at the kids, any blue chip recruits. Like, last year it was Jaden Skeet. Jaden Skeet, when he was brought in, you knew he was, from what you've heard, what the scouts from 247 were saying, even what the staff was saying this summer, that this was a kid that was ready to play quick. And by the end of the season, you saw him out there quite a bit, right? I don't get the sense there's guys on this roster that are going to need time, that are going to be ready to do that right away. I look at guys like Charlie Camella, who's the guy on the screen right now. He's a developmental guy who missed most of this last season with a broken leg. He missed most of the year. He didn't get to play. Jonathan Montague, same thing. Probably going to take some time. The offensive linemen are going to take time. So it's gonna be a little bit. So when I look at this um the group coming in as true freshmen in the spring, it makes sense. You don't need to rush them. Why bother bringing them in early? Let them finish their senior year. And I'm sure there's academic reasons to it too, but BC in the past has brought in quite a few. This year it's just a couple. So it's going to be a small group. Now, in our final segment, I want to talk a little basketball. We're recording just before the start of the Syracuse game. I want to get into Chas Kelley because I feel like we haven't talked about this guy enough. And his development over the last couple games has been really something impressive. And we'll get into why in just a moment. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get up to $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Now, the biggest sports story out there right now is the retirement of Alabama head coach Nick Saban. And I didn't even bring it up on this episode. Everyone else on Locked On, their group chat's like, "Oh, I can't wait to talk about how this ramification is going to, impact my team and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Well, little old Boston College, it doesn't impact us." But on FanDuel, if you think you know who's going to be the next head coach, is it going to be Dan Lanning? Is it going to be Lane Kiffin? Will it be Dabo? The odds, I believe, are up there right now. You can get those future bets. You can also get bets on any game that you're thinking about and live parlays, which are always a lot of fun. So make sure to check that out and go to FanDuel/locked on to make your first bet a layup with FanDuel, the official sports partner of the NFL. This is Locked On BC, AJ Black. So recording this right before the Syracuse game, and all the talk has been about Quentin Post, who going into this game tonight, he's going against a Syracuse team that's going to be without their starting center, which will be interesting because will he be able to dominate against their backup? But with the talk of him, with McLaughlin and Claudel Harris, I feel like I've not done a good enough job talking about the development of now sophomore Chas Kelley. Now, if you were to ask me at the end of last year what Kelley was going to be on this team, I still was like, okay, he's raw. We haven't seen him really develop over the year. I'm not sure what he's going to do, but maybe, going into this upcoming season, he'll find his stride. Beginning of this season, I was like, I watched those games and it still looked the same. Like he didn't look any different than he did last year. He was hesitant. His offense was kind of poor. His ball handling was a mess. He just didn't look like he even belonged on the court. Like there were games where you were just like, please get him off. He's not helping this team. But that has changed lately. He looks like a completely different player, and he looks not only ready to be out there, but an asset to Boston College basketball. In the last couple games, you look back at what Chas Kelley has done, and you see a player, he had 9 points last time out there, and he's been able to score, and he is much more effective with the ball in his hand, that he's become a very valuable rotational player for Boston College. When you need to rush your Jaden Zachary's or Claudel Harris, you can get him out there and he can confidently run your game plan. And that is a huge asset. And also defensively, I've seen him play very well. Chas Kelley has become everything that you hoped he would be. And it's been amazing to watch him grow as a player in just a couple games. And yeah, it's only a smaller sample size, but you don't lose that kind of confidence overnight. Like maybe I'm sure he'll have games where he gets cold and he struggles against shooting. But he's playing at a higher level again. And he looks like an ACC guard. Now, would you want him starting? Probably not. But I could argue that he needs more minutes. At times out there, you know, I'd love to see him out there more with some of the starters. Like if Zachary, you need to get him off the court for a little bit, getting Chas Kelley out there to run the offense with your starters could help him continue to develop, to get better in his, get some better shots and to help facilitate that offense. I just, of all the players that we've talked about, I feel like Kelley is one that I've been most impressed with in terms of his growth. Claudel Harris is definitely the one I've been in McLaughlin, but it's important that you get a guy like Chas Kelley up there, because I just did not want to see him become the latest in a series of guards over the last 7-8 years that have fanned out and have become, guards at San Francisco or St. Mary or, back to UMass where Rich Kelly went, and, all those other places where, it's not an ACC level player. He looks like an ACC level player. He's not going to fan out. I think, you're going to get Harris and Zachary next year, but as Beacon has said on this podcast numerous times, he thinks that Grant's goal is to play more guards. There's going to be a role for him. He's going to get more minutes. And so this is a perfect opportunity now, as he's starting to get more confident. He's starting to feel it more on the court, to increase those minutes, get him out there more, to allow him to continue to be, to get to that role. Because when you lose post next year, you need to get more, and he could do that. All right, folks, we're going to head out because the game is about to start in a couple minutes. This is AJ Black. You can follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. On tomorrow's show, we'll have Beacon Street Ball on to talk more about tonight's game. We'll talk about everything going on with the Eagles and their basketball team. Can't wait to talk to you all about that. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On BC wherever you get your podcast. Tell your friends and family, because it does help us. And thank you all who are everyday listeners. This is AJ. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day.